Hi, I'm here with Jude, my mentee, and he's taken on a new property. He's had it a little while now, and let's look into his backstory, what motivated him into getting a rent-to-rent property and starting his own business. So hi Jude.
Hi.
Hi. How long have you had this property?
I've had it since the end of last year, since December.
Right. What motivated you to start your own business? Because I assume you was working before.
Mm-hmm.
And what made you decide rent-to-rent was your key strategy?
Yeah, so I've been in a job since 2021. So I'm working as a regulatory consultant.
Mm-hmm.
My background is in chemistry, so I spent several years in education doing chemistry. So I got my first job in 2021. It's been okay, but I wanted something for myself where I'm sort of running it and where I can, not stuck in fixed hours as well, where has its limitations, right? 9 to 5 job. So that was one of the reasons. Also, helping more with the family in terms of my why. Obviously, my own well-being, health. But my family as well, that's very, I would say precious to me. And I wasn't making much, to be honest, after all that many years in education, the amount of salary I was getting, it doesn't sustain. So I do have work in the education sector as well as a side job. So it's a tutoring business. So that's going well. But if I look at my income, it's just doesn't suffice. And with the family, when I get, as with anyone, right, you want to help out your family because they've looked after me. And I've had issues in terms of my health previously as well. So I've ulcerative colitis, and I was diagnosed in 2017. And that was also the year where my uncle passed away, and it really, really hit me hard. And that's when I started to realize more things and explore more into my why.
Can I ask a small favour from you? Unfortunately, 95% of people don't understand the power of pushing that like and subscribe button. What that does is push content like this out to people like yourselves that maybe are just starting or already have started in property. It could potentially save you or them thousands of pounds in the future. And it also helps us create more quality content for you. So before you forget, push the like and subscribe button now before we continue. You haven't pushed it yet, have you? Before the phone rings and you get distracted, push it now. Thanks.
Yeah, in terms of my health, I just couldn't concentrate at work. It was a very struggle, still is a struggle. So I wanted something which is, I felt more active because at the moment at my full-time work, I just don't feel like I'm really exercising everything I've done previously, if that makes sense. Yeah, I was exploring different options. I sort of did investments and stock shares, but I wanted something a bit more where I've got my hands in, right? That's where I came across property. So I went to some sort of networking events, and then I came across you on social media and came to understand what rent-to-rent was, and I was thinking, wow, this is actually pretty cool because I didn't have much saving, and this was a sort of maybe a lower entry to get into. So I thought, let me look into this more, and then your videos and your reels on social media was awesome, and I just then got into contact with you. I think I messaged you multiple times. So yeah, that's really how I where I started from, and what really brought me to property, and particularly rent to rent, because seeing the sort of potential income. I could easily replace my salary and be able to be more. Eventually quit my job, maybe. I don't know.
Fantastic. That's an amazing story. And you managed all of that with the health issues and working, and you've taken on a property after taking on your mentorship. Wow.
I'm trying.
How did you manage to juggle all of those?
Yeah, it's not been easy, let's say. So it's about being organized, right? And I've always, I mean, and I've had to develop techniques of what I can do, you know, having a calendar, blocking it off, and you know, you've helped a lot with that as well, and putting me on my place as well to make sure I'm doing my actions as well. I think having a, you know, good mentor is really important, as well as the education as well, right? So.
Absolutely. Okay, so you managed to get super organised, but how does that feel? How did that feel when you wanted to first start the Rent's Rent, take that first step? How was that for you? It
was difficult. If I'm saying that, if I'm being honest, right, and upfront, I guess it's, you know, stepping into the unknown, right? Whenever you step into unknown, it's a bit, you know, everyone has their different risk appetites. Even for me, I think I thought I had a good risk appetite, but that's when I found out, you know, taking that first step was difficult. And I think I remember you saying, and this just really stuck on me, stuck in my head, and resonated with me every time, because I love cars. So you said to me, do you have your foot fully on the accelerator, but do you also have one foot on the brake? And then when I started thinking about that and rolling that in my head, started to realize I do have some sort of barriers, which I had to definitely break. So I worked through what those barriers were, and I had to break them. So for example, like thinking about money, I've always been brought up, and nothing against my parents, always been brought up that, you know, money doesn't bring you happiness, right? I mean, that's true, I accept that, but it's like you don't really need money. As long as you have enough to go about, it's fine. But yeah, I had to change that, and the idea of, you know, saving and how that works in terms of business, because you don't get taught this in school. I run work in a tuition business, and I've asked students, they've not been taught this in school. So yeah, it was getting through those barriers, and then even when you're about to, you know, go and speak to agents on the phone, that's a different thing. I'm now, I would say, well versed in speaking to parents, students on the phone. I mean, it comes more naturally to me now, right? But when I started speaking on the phone to estate agents, I just didn't have I didn't know what I was saying.
And I find that's the sticking point for most mentees. Mm-hmm. And how did you find the process when we walked you through the first phone call? We called together with estate agents, didn't we?
Yeah, that was it was nerve-wracking actually. I didn't think I was going to get too nervous at that point, because I thought, okay, it's like speaking to parents, you know, and you've had like issues with parents, and, you know, addressing that as well. So I thought, okay, it's going to be fine. But I was quite nervous when I first spoke, and I still remember the call we had, and I think you said just relax, because we did practice it before, and I thought that was super useful, you know, to go through that. You gave me a sort of script as well, obviously not to read off the script because it's not going to be natural, but you know, trying to absorb and understand what the different elements there are, and, you know, putting that in place when speaking to the estate agent and how to approach them. And you were talking about even like energy levels. So the estate agent may be like that, and you just need to be slightly higher in terms of the energy level. I thought, you know, I mean, some of these things you think may think it's quite obvious, but until someone says that to you, right, it's just like, oh wow, okay, I should start doing that. So. Mm-hmm.
And obviously, with estate agents and any kind of cold calling, you're going to get quite a few no's. Did you find that difficult to keep going after a certain amount of no's? And how would the mentorship help you with that?
There was so many no's at the start, right? And getting no after no, you know, I thought I was quite resilient. But that's when I found out it really puts you down. Like, what I've really appreciated from yourself was, you know, that motivation, constant motivation, you know, the kick up the backside, if I can say that, just to go, you know, it's a numbers game, right? And I remember there was other mentors, mentees rather, you had, and they mentioned they had to make the number of calls they had to make, and for me, I thought, okay, it's not, I'm not too bad then, but it's just, as I mentioned previously, it's being organized and making those calls. And in terms of would I have been able to do that without a mentor? No, I would have probably, I think I may have given up by that point, because I thought, okay, this should have been easier than it seems. So I would have probably, I would have given up, I think, and tried something else, a different strategy or something.
Yeah.
So.
I find that people tend to doubt themselves after a certain number of calls. Are they doing the right thing? Are they saying the right things? And how could you possibly do that without a mentor to tell you that, yeah, you're doing the right thing, just keep going on the right path?
Yeah, I mean, you need that guidance, I think, and that's what I'll say to anyone really, and people I've spoken to in networking and stuff. It's really important to have someone who is there to guide you, and I've always had that throughout my life, really. Like, when I was younger, and still now, my dad, right, and I've sort of what I call as fatherly figures, and they've always been there to guide me in different ways. And even during my education, my supervisors really helped me as well. And I really, for me, I always think that's important, right? And I really value that. So yeah, without the guidance, I don't think I'll be able to go in the right ways. I would have made a lot more mistakes as well, right? Because I know even friends who, I didn't realize until I came across Rent to Rent and under your mentorship program as well, that some of my other friends were doing Rent to Rent, and the mistakes they made as well, and a lot of money they lost. And yeah, if I didn't go through this like with you, yeah, I would have made those mistakes and lost money as well.
So you got your property agreed.
Yeah.
You negotiated with the estate agent, and you're ready to sign the contract. Through calling estate agents and landlords, how did you come about getting this property?
So yeah, I made several calls to estate agents, and for this particular property and Rent to Rent, I got this direct to vendor, so from the landlady directly. But it's quite interesting how I actually got this property. It was through networking. So it was actually a lady who had the Rent to Rent, so this property, but she was she had other personal issues, so she couldn't continue. But through networking, I found her and then took that on. So that was pretty interesting. Yeah, just obviously negotiating with her as well as the landlady as well, in terms of the terms, and even like with the landlady directly, the rent, because she wanted an increase, because the original price she wanted slightly higher in 3 years' time, so I slightly negotiated it lower. So that was pretty good, and you gave me a lot of tips in that regard as well in terms of negotiating. So that was super useful as well when speaking to the landlady.
Fantastic. Okay, and obviously you've got to run your numbers to see if the deal stacks. How did you find that, and what numbers did you come up with?
In terms of the numbers, I realised how important they were, and how to do your fair due diligence. And you had like a spreadsheet which you could use, or a template to do the calculations, which I thought was really, really useful, and all the formulas in there as well. So in terms of what I was looking for is the sort of costs associated with it. So you obviously have your rent, you have your bills, such as council tax, you have your water, electricity, broadband, and the other element is obviously how much nightly rate you can get for it as well, right? So at the time I was just looking at Airbnb because it's much easier to do, but then I realized there's different platforms you can use to check the nightly rate and make it more accurate, let's say. So check the nightly rate, and there are other tools which are recommended to use to check a rough estimate and occupancy as well. So I checked all of that, and also the other thing I usually forgot was the the changeovers. It's quite funny because you have sort of seen before where other sort of templates that I've had, and they don't really implement that too well. So I thought I've understood better how to check the cost for that. So based on that, I could see the numbers were good. So at 50% occupancy, it was better than a break even. So I thought, okay, this is a very good one.
So you're aiming for 75% occupancy, and what would the profit be on that?
So depending on the nightly rate, it's about £800 to £1,000. Yeah,
That's fantastic, isn't it?
yeah, amazing.
So how long before you get your money back on this property that you've invested?
Probably about 8 months.
About 8 months. That's pretty good. And then after that, you're earning profit of
Yeah.
say 800 a month.
Yeah, that would be very good.
Fantastic, yeah. So what's your plans for the future?
So ideally, I want to replace my income from my full-time job, because there's only so long I want to stay in the full-time job. I want to have a flexibility because I want to travel. I did do some traveling last year, but I want to do more of it, and obviously look after the family. So in terms of going forward, I want to acquire more rent-to-rent. So I'm speaking to the current landlady about a potential property she has for rent-to-rent, and I have other properties in the pipeline as well. So yeah, increasing my portfolio, and then exploring other options as well, right? Because there are a lot of different opportunities, but what I did at the start was trying to do too many different things, and I realized how bad that was, and I wasn't very productive. I remember you saying, just focus. So at the moment, I'm gonna try and focus on, adding to my portfolio of rent-to-rents, and also acquiring, purchasing properties as well, and potentially with some of these rent-to-rent, a purchase lease option as well. That would be good.
And I must say, you're definitely on a very good path now. You put in so much hard work, and it's not easy, and but you've achieved it very well.
Thank you very much, and again, appreciate all your help and advice with this. I've not been easy, but appreciate you doing that.
Yeah, I think you did it all yourself. So how are you finding managing the property? Are you managing it yourself? And what tools are you using for automation, or are you going to be using a management company?
So early on, I had decided not to go with a management company because, firstly, they charge a commission on that. Of course, it could be up to 20%, which really eats up your profit. And also, I want to learn the process, right? Because if you give it to a management company, you're not going to get that, right? They're not going to maybe not showing you the data as well of which guests came in, etc. So I really want to get stuck in. I'm in London, and this is obviously in Birmingham, so that was something I had to sort of sort out if I was going to manage it myself. So in order to do that, I had to build a team. Right, so I really understood the importance of having a power team around you, which you sort of mentioned to me at the start. So having good cleaners, having tradesmen who are able to help out and giving a fair rate as well, right? And also someone there to keep checks or keep tabs, right? And this is something I sort of got through sort of networking. So I went to several networking events in Birmingham, and I've met people, and then started to speak to them about rent-to-rent, and they were looking to go into rent-to-rent as well. So they said, I asked them. I just asked the question. What do you think about helping with this? And I will share my tips and things I find out as well, and you can get involved in different elements, and they agreed to that, and it's going very well at the moment in that respect. I'm sort of managing it from London, but have tools, as you mentioned, PMS system, and in terms of the pricing as well, use Price Labs, which rather than me changing the prices every day, which is I've read and I remember you saying this is not very effective because you don't really know, right? So that I have Price Labs, which changed the pricing according to the market of different, service accommodations in this area. So those are sort of the tools that I'm, sort of using at the moment, and I'm looking to add to that to make it more automated, so that I don't need to do as much as I'm doing right now, so I can focus on other things, right? Because obviously, if I want to get more properties, I can't just be focusing on the sort of nitty-gritty parts, right? So yeah, automation has really helped, and you sort of went through the different tools. That there's so many tools, but just find the ones that's right for you as well. It's been a learning curve as well, and it's really helped make it more efficient, the business more efficient.
So we'll look forward to seeing you with multiple properties in the future.
Thank you. I hope so.
Rewind.